violence. In the name of the gods we fight. Zeus decided the best is to meet her, and Aeolus by our side to save the world from the Titans' pride.
Hey guys, so Christoph here for another Illustrious video in another deck build. This is going to be the first video in at least a 4-part series. I've undecided if I'm going to do more, but I've been thinking about Moonrise. We're about a month away from me recording this video to when we get Moonrise in hand in stores. So some deck ideas I have and I want to share with you guys. When the cards do release, feel free to take this deck list. Go ahead, test it out. Please comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of these the deck list. So today's is going to be Mill. So milling we saw a little bit in the initial base set and Frostfall sets, some kind of a mill build. Milling is a term in Illustrials that is discarding cards from the top of the deck to the underworld. There are some cards that, like Avalanche for instance, that does some self-milling as well, but my deck idea is you're going after your opponent. You want your opponent to run out of cards in their deck. When Daybreak came out, we did see a version of mill that was okay. It wasn't the best. But now with Moonrise coming out, we have more mill cards, so this is my take on it. So let's go ahead and get started. The very first card on that list is going to be Cinder. Cinder is a 1-cost fire. It is a 3 attack, 2 defense, which states when the Cinder receives 1 or more fire, your opponent must send the top 3 cards of their deck to the underworld. So they must mill those 3 cards. So immediate on cast, I'm going ahead and mill my opponent's deck. Flip side is my opponent could Gorgon's Gaze that effect, but they're also burning spirits at that point, which again still does me good. I'm fine with you Gorgon Gazing my Cinder, because in the end it's still going to hurt you more. And then we are getting a new artwork for Moonrise as well, which is going to be the art that you guys see on screen right now. Next up is going to be its newest ascension, Salashade. Salashade is a 3/3. It's a 2-cost, 1 fire, 1 lunar, which states this Salashade gets +1 attack for each Celestial in your opponent's underworld. So again, you're going to be milling your opponent anyway, so fingers crossed you're getting at least 2 or 3 in their underworld before Salashade comes out, which would jump it up to a 6. Best part about that 3 defense, it does protect it from Cryoblast at least once. Secondary effect, when a player casts an Celestial, your opponent must send the top 3 cards of their deck to the underworld. So I will tell you right now, at making this video, I don't know if when you play Salashade, if that effect immediately activates or it's once it's on field. But regardless, my opponent's going to have to mill every time. Every time I summon an Celestial, they're going to have to mill. And that doesn't count for special ascensions. So I don't believe I have any special ascensions in this deck, but that's something to look for as well if you're making a side deck. I will have a side deck for this video. I don't believe I have any special casting involved in that. Next on the list is going to be Bellowbee. So this one's a little fun option just to kind of help you be more assertive, more dominant in the match. So Bellowbee is a new Moonrise card. It is a 1-cost fire, 2 attack, 2 defense. It says fire when enchanted Celestials get +1 attack. So already it's going to be helping most of the Celestials in my deck. You can target a fire or 1 enchanted Celestial and give it the effect this Celestial is unaffected by counter runes until the next turn. So weird how it's stated like that. Usually it says not in or until the end of the turn. So I'm not exactly sure how that would take effect. But I would say at the start of my opponent's turn, that effect would shut off. But again, mix that with Salashade, mix that with any of my Celestials. Now Shield of Achilles won't work. Tsunami's not going to work. Gorgon's Gaze. So very good combo piece to use to be a lot more assertive, more dominant in the match. Next up, we're going to have Torchin. Again, Torchin's kind of a fun option because now Fire finally has some healing. They finally have an Celestial that does healing. So it is a 1 attack, 1 defense, so super weak. 1-cost fire. When this Torchin declares an attack, you can return fire spirits from your underworld to your spirit deck up to the number of chanting fire spirits on your field. So one way this was pointed out to me is mix it with Bow of Apollo, which allows you to attack your opponent directly. Also attacking into a defense position Celestial that also lets you kind of heal from that scenario. So for instance, in my mind, I have Torchin out, I have, say, Salashade out, and maybe Volcanic Forge. Alright, so Torchin's going to attack, that's 3 fire enchanting spirits on field. I'll get to heal 3 from that. Again, just keep in mind, it's going to get outed quick, unless you have a rune to protect it, or you have something to protect it. Surprisingly, because it's so weak though, it's still a card you're trying to attack with. You want that extra healing involved. Next up, we're going to have Lumaru. Lumaru is a 5 attack, 2 defense solar which states that when it destroys an Celestial in battle, your opponent's going to mill 3 cards off the top of their deck. Again, another combo piece, another piece in our deck that's trying to mill my opponent down, take their cards from deck, hopefully in the same turn helping Salashade get stronger, and then also hopefully getting rid of some of those counter runes so we don't have to worry about that later on. We have Humbust. Humbust is a 1 attack, 2 defense fire Celestial, 1 cost fire, that states that every time a rune is played, my opponent has to burn 2, mill 2 off the top of their deck. You can only use that effect 4 times in a game, or in a turn. So you just want to make sure you have those combo pieces set up. And again, another card you're trying to protect. This also works with your opponent's runes and on your opponent's turn. So keep that in mind. If your opponent is going to get ready to destroy them, Tsunami, Gorgon's Gaze, whatever you gotta do to protect that card, because not only are you going to protect it, but at the same time you're going to mill your opponent from more cards as well. And the last Celestial in the main deck is going to be Ash Rabbit. It is a 2 attack, 5 defense, 1 cost fire that states every time it receives fire, I'm allowed to pick 3 cards from my underworld. My opponent chooses 1, and it either goes back to my hand, or in case of spirits, it goes back to spirit deck. So another good card to have. Number 1, if I need to heal spirits, but number 2, say all 3 of my Salashades are in the underworld, and my opponent's got 2 or 3 cards left on the top of their deck. I'm going to go ahead and play that Ash Rabbit. If I give them 3 of the same option, there's no choice in the matter. They can Gorgon's Gaze the effect, sure, which again, I'm making them burn spirits. And then at the same time, if they let me take that card back, I'm going to go ahead and mill them for even more. Next up, we're going to have our rune package for this. Standard set for most of the decks I build. You're going to have 3 Ambrosia for healing, 3 PTAs for destruction, 3 Gorgon's Gaze to stop my opponent in their tracks, literally turn their Celestial to stone. 3 Tsunamis. Tsunami felt really good in this package just to protect the Salashade, protect the Humbust. They are weak Celestials, and same thing with the Bellowbeat. They're just weak cards, so you want to try to have that extra protection. 2 Golden Fleeces. I like the thought of Golden Fleece, especially on Salashade, because number 1, it does have that weak defense. So if they do switch it to defense position, the Golden Fleece will help protect it. And then also Fleece's own effect just to block any destruction once. Again, I play Salashade, they play Poison Tipped Arrow. I can Golden Fleece that same turn. When Poison Tipped Arrow effect activates at the end of the turn, at least I know Salashade will be sticking around. We also have 2 Shield of Achilles to round out the counter rune package. I did just skip into equipment, but also 2 Shield of Achilles. Again, if my opponent has a strong Celestial out, I'm already milling their deck. If they have that one less strong Celestial and Salashade's out, I'm going to block that, or block the attack, and then they have to recast it. If they do recast it, they're going to lose 3 more cards. Volcanic Forge, again, we're running a fire deck, so it just makes sense to me to have at least 2 Volcanic Forge in this deck. We also have 1 Resting on Your Laurels for destruction purposes. This deck isn't really a Nexus deck, so I want to go ahead and have some card for destruction. And a fun tech piece, which will probably be one of the first cards I remove from the deck, is also going to be Golden Apple of Discord. Golden Apple of Discord, I will discard 1 card from hand. My opponent randomly discards a card from hand, and then they burn, I believe it's 2 cards off the top of their deck. Last card I don't think I named was Nectar of the Gods. Again, I'm going to try to save that for when Humbust is on field. I'm going to burn my opponent for 2 off the top of their deck, and then I get to draw 2 as well, hopefully adding more combo pieces to my deck. The Spirit package in this one, it's not necessarily wonky. I'm someone who likes to have at least 3 spirits, or I keep at the most 3 types of spirits. This one does have 4. So because it is more of a fire package, I do have 13 fires in this. I have 4 solars. Again, we're running 2 golden fleeces and 3 luminers. So 4 seems like a good number to me. That lets me summon 2 luminers and 1 golden fleece. Again, I do have my ambrosias to heal those spirits back if needed. And the good thing about Torchin will heal the fire spirits for me as well. 2 water for the 3 tsunamis. I don't want to run out of water spirits. I know some people will do a 3-to-1 ratio. 3-to-2 makes more sense for me. And then I only have 1 lunar. I do need to have lunar to summon Salashade, but in my opinion, there's not going to be too many instances that I'm summoning 2 Salashades. Worst case scenario, I can't misenchant the other one, and then power of Volcanic Forge. And then side decks. So we did make a side deck for this one. All the decks that I will be showing you guys in these videos, I did make a side deck. It's my personal perspective of it. Obviously, a lot of things can change as the meta evolves. So as of right now, this is just what I think would be a good side deck. 1 Humburst. Humburst is a fire solar. I believe it's a 4/3 stat that states disenchant fire and solar from this Humburst. to take the top 6 cards of my opponent's deck to the underworld. So you're going to mill 6. That's going to be a huge advantage piece if I want to end the game quickly. 2 Ruminous. Ruminous is Lumaru's Ascension. That states every point of damage it does to my opponent, they have to mill 2. So if I can attack my opponent directly, then there we go. And that's going to burn 4 cards off the top of their deck. Even if I'm attacking over an Celestial, if I can just keep milling my opponent, keep burning those cards off the top of their deck, I should be good to go. We do have a 3rd Shield of Achilles, just in case we need it. I have 2 small Tugas in the side deck to search for my Fire Celestials. I didn't main deck it. Again, I got the Ash Rabbits for defensive purposes, but say the Bellowbee doesn't work out, or God forbid the Torchin doesn't work out, I can go ahead and switch that in, the small Tugas in. With that being said, I also added 2 Leviathans to the side deck as well. If I'm going to have a total of 5 waters, I do want more water spirits in my side deck. Also adding 2 more Solars for the side deck. That way, if we do want to do the Ruminous package, we can go ahead and have enough spirits for that. With 3 Necruffs, again, we are running a fire deck, so Necruff seems good, especially expending spirits from my opponent every time it destroys an Celestial, and then it's at 5 body. And the last 2 cards in the side deck, something you might not be thinking of. Personally, for me, I love the idea of it. Follow the Wisp. Follow the Wisp is a counter rune. It costs you 1 fire to play, and it states that basically when my opponent attacks this turn, they can only attack 1 target while it's on field. So for me, my first thought is if I have Sallow Shade loaded up with spirits, or are the points are high, the attack points are high because my opponent has a bunch of Celestials in Underworld, I can go ahead and pick Sallow Shade. They have to attack the strongest Celestial on field. Same thing with Lumaru. You know, they have a 5, Lumaru's a 5. If they crash into each other, okay, you're going to destroy my Celestial, but you're still milling 3 cards off the top of your deck. So Follow the Wisp I thought was just a kind of cool, like a fun package to add in there. We might see if it fits in to the main deck. Looking at the main deck, the top cards I say I would side out would be the Nectar of the Gods and the Golden Apple of Discord. Again, those are more fun options. The Nog to Heal, I mean, obviously that's just a good card, but the Golden Apple, it's something that I don't know if I'd see a lot of play with. Obviously I have to see how the game goes. The good thing about Golden Apple is I have to discard a card to activate it, to use the effect, or that is part of the effect, but then I have Ash Rabbit to heal the card back. And then also for the main deck, I would say right now, looking at this set, the Humbus and the Torchin would be the main cards I would switch out personally. Cinder's already going to do enough to my opponent. The Lumer is going to do enough, and the Sallow Shade necessarily don't need the Humbust, especially for how weak they are. And the Torchin, it does let me heal, but again, it's such a weak body that even if my opponent goes ahead and poison tipped arrows it or Gorgon's gazes it, then I just wasted it. And again, it's so weak. So those, in my opinion, would be the top 4 cards. It's a total of 8 cards that I would side out for any other combo pieces. It all, again, just like every match, every clash you guys do, it just depends on what you're going up against. That being said, guys, that's the deck. That is Moonrise Mill deck, my personal perspective. My name's Stella Christoph. I'll see you guys in the next deck build. I hope you all have a stellar day. Peace.
For the